It has been said that education is the key to opportunity and the key out of poverty. Let's now hear from two young people who have dedicated their time and efforts to their education and are now ready to reap the rewards. This is Beetham Success Stories. Hi Kareem.
Hi Mahalia.
Thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you in your community.
Hi, welcome to our beautiful community of Beetham Gardens, Mahalia.
By now, many of you would be familiar with the story of 28-year-old Kareem Marcelle, who was called to the bar in November. His studies have concluded for now, but the journey to get to this point was in no way easy, especially growing up in Beetham Gardens with a single mother. Although this community has experienced stigma, there are a lot of inspirational and positive success stories.
So what would you like Trinidad and Tobago to know about the Beetham Gardens community?
I would like Trinidad and Tobago to know that Beetham Gardens is literally one of the most beautiful communities you can find, with the most set of beautiful persons that you can find. Like in any other community, you would find that there is a minute percent of the community that is involved in some wrong activity. And I would like Trinidad and Tobago, just as they don't cast and wipe the entire country with the same brush, and they don't wipe the entire world and different countries with the same brush, to not paint the entire community with one brush. Because we are filled with so many positive young persons, so many positive and hard-working citizens of this country that do what they have to do, get up and provide for their children. People that didn't start with anything, but they are willing to break that cycle. I just want Trinidad and Tobago to be cognizant that we may be young as a community, but we are striving into the future.
So Kareem, I know you would have spent a lot of time studying. How was that? What was the lead up like for that last exam?
It was in fact difficult. In fact, I had a lot of anxiety and pressure because it's your last set of exams, and you want to make sure that you can succeed in the exams and graduate with everyone at the same time and so on. So whilst it was online, it was really intense because we had essentially what would have been intense 24-hour exams. So no sleep for that 24 hours. You make sure you get rest the day before if you could, because you still have to study. Although you don't have to memorize, you still have to know the law, you still have to know the principles. So it was a matter of a lot of anxiety, a lot of excitement, nervousness, fright, but faith as well. Faith that my hard work will pay off, and faith that Jehovah God brought me this far, and I know that He will carry me through.
Many of the residents are beaming with pride as they too played a part in Kareem's journey.
Yeah. Oh, that was a blessing when I get into Sacred Heart.
Yeah,
he went to school with my grandchildren. They used to come, this car driver there used to pick them up every morning at 6:30 and take them to Sacred Heart boys.
Right.
But my two grandsons are abroad right now.
And she called me Grang because usually
when I come to school, he hear roll up. And I say,
to brush it and comb it.
I used to brush it and comb it.
Yeah.
I say, you ain't going to Sacred Heart like that.
Yeah.
Kareem is just one of the many young people in the Beetham Gardens community who hasn't allowed the stigma connected to his address to keep him from achieving his full potential. 23-year-old Kimberly Dorman was born and raised in a section of the Beetham Gardens community known to many as Hell Yard. Kimberly wants to see a change in her community, and she believes that her degree in civil engineering will be the first step to achieving that change.
So Kimberly, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. Tell me, what made you decide to pursue studies in civil engineering?
Actually, I didn't know what I wanted to become. I didn't know if I wanted to do engineering, doctor, teacher, anything. I just knew that I wanted to go into the University of the West Indies and get a bachelor's degree. However, during the years in my community, Beetham Gardens, there were a lot of poor infrastructures, and also there were sewer problems at my home itself, so I was able to witness these sewer problems. And I remember they were refurnishing old apartments into new apartments, and I wanted to help in some way because obviously I would be fed up of the sewage problem as well. So I decided to ask questions of what I can do to help my community, and a teacher advised me. Bear in mind, I went to Tranquility Secondary School, and I decided to do civil engineering. While doing my degree, I become fond of it, and it is actually great. So now I want to become an environmental engineer to help the sewage problem, the drainage, and the road. Anything with infrastructure.
Kimberly and Kareem are grateful for the support of family members. They both faced an uphill battle as they worked towards achieving their goals.
There were a lot of financial challenges as my mother, she's a single parent with 4 kids. Bear in mind, I had a stepdad, but she did most of the work. So when I started my degree, I was funded by GATE actually. So you need to keep up your grades to always be funded by GATE every semester. And I did that. However, starting UWI, I remember it had compulsory fees. Bear in mind, nobody could pay compulsory fees for you. So I remember my mom saying, oh no, you could have started to work before. But for some reason, she did find the money, and I did pursue it. During my degree, engineering is a full-time degree. So you cannot work at all doing a full-time degree, and it was only offered full-time, but I decided to do some part-time work, so it was very challenging for me to come home and to actually go to work at some times. But in my final year, I decided to stay home and take in the time.
Life growing up in Beetham Gardens has mostly good, but of course we have to also be cognizant of some of the challenges that young men like myself have to face in the community of Beetham Gardens and even outside as it relates to persons knowing you're coming from the community of Beetham Gardens. So growing up for me, I first, during my earlier childhood, I lived with both my mom and my dad and my 3 other siblings right here. And then in around standard 4 going into 5, my father migrated to the United States without giving us a warning. Went and married and started a new life and left my mom to grow us up. Whilst at that time, my father was a market sweeper, my mom was a preschool teacher, both working for minimum wage, having to send 4 children to school, to pay bills and to get on with life. So even when my father was here, it was difficult, financially. But we were always rich in morals and values. It's something that my mother primed herself on. Always say that it's better to come home with less. You can't count for anything, don't bring it home, don't bring an extra pen, don't bring an extra pencil, no matter what the case may be. So when my father left, it took a toll on the family and so on. But eventually we picked up. We moved on and we tried to make ends meet. In fact, I would usually come home, rush home from school, deal with, let's say, my mom used to started to sell chicken and chips, breastbone wings, fries, Moby, and so on, right out by our shop on the road there. And so my task was making sure to come home, clean the chicken, make sure that it's prepared and so on. And then wait so when she comes home that she can season it and we go there and set up and sell. So that is some of the challenges that we had to face in order to make ends meet. I'm the first person in my immediate family of my mother children in order to go university and so on. And it's something that I had a lot of faith in from very young. It's something that I dreamed about, something that I worked hard for, that I prayed for, and I put in the work for. So I had my whole family support system rooting for me. Although my father was abroad and he's in prison now serving a life sentence, 35 years to parole. Because he would have, when he migrated and married, he ended up killing his wife, stabbing her to death. I think that's putting it mildly, because I think that Beetham Garden is undoubtedly in Trinidad and Tobago the most stigmatized community in Trinidad and Tobago. I think that whenever persons want to think about, compare the worst of Trinidad and Tobago, they use Beetham as an example. Oftentimes, even when I go to school, when I go to different places, growing up, and from the moment that persons hear that I'm from the community of Beetham Gardens, they poke fun at me, they laugh at me, they make discriminatory statements. Children who sometimes, many a times, I went to Sacred Heart Boys IC school, and I went to Trinity College and so on. And even at that time going to school, you had young children at that time in my class and so on, who shouldn't be prejudicial or, have those kind of things, but they came from homes and families at times, some of them, who they would have heard saying these things. So they think that it was okay to get up and call me Beetham rat, or to call me, to tell me, anything smelling nasty in the class or something. Hey, the one that is a Beetham rat, or the one that is a Beetham boy. In terms of the stigmatization and as it relates to persons being stigmatized and prevented job opportunities, I think that that's on every street that you go, you will at least find 3 or 4 stories of somebody telling you that whether it was regards to getting a security job, sometimes it's whether in a clothing store, to even to certain government institutions. So when we talk about systematic stigma and systematic oppression, many of times the issue don't lie with the government mainly. It's society. So that is some of the things that that we have to endure. But we are making strides. We are making connection. And really, I never had to at any time change my address in order to get anything, because I fought for that, and it's a fight that I continue to fight and to be a representative for my community and go out there. And almost every single place that I have worked, I have been able to make connections and be able, whether it's an internship for young people in Beetham, whether it's an internship for somebody in Chanchan, or whatever the community is, I go there as an ambassador for my community and try to create opportunities and create ways in which we can break that cycle.
Kimberly also took time to share her experiences with us.
The stigma was really harsh, especially someone like me. I'm very quiet. I'm always inside, never outside, but a lot of people knows me in the area as I grew up in the area. However, being on the outside, from the time people hear you from Beetham Gardens, they say, no, you don't look like a Beetham child, or you don't look like you went to UE or anything. So because I am from Beetham Gardens, so I was actually happy to show them that I am from Beetham Gardens.
They are both working along with many others in this community to make a difference. There is, however, one incident which stood out for Kareem. He wants the killing of young people throughout the country to come to an end.
I remember just 10 years ago, I was sitting right there on that bench here. And when I was sitting by myself, with 3 or 4 other friends, we were sitting in Lyman. And whilst we were there was recently a killing of the night before, killing of somebody involved in criminal activity. And what happened is there was a war between phases 1 to 3 and phases 4 and 5. And so the war had just started in Beetham. And so right after that 3 years, it's literally was the borderline. So we sat there doing what we have to do, liming, eating, drinking. And I perhaps was in form 5. However, there was a young man who I grew up with. And he just came and asked me, because it was my mother's birthday the night before, and he came and he asked me to go and get some food for him. So I went inside right here, got the food for him, came out, talked to him, and he left everything. And I went back and speaking with my friend. He was in fact involved in criminal activity. I grew up with him, and so on. But somebody would have passed, saw us speaking, and would have said that, informed the warring gang that, he's there. So before you know it, you had 3 gunmen coming down the road to kill him. But because the way how everyone was built in terms of our physical structure, I was the only one that was tall and slim at the time that would have looked like him. So it was a case of they mistaken me for him. And I had 3 gunmen with big guns shooting me at me. I had to run across over the highway during the passing car and run for at least until we reached down to the MP station, the gunmen shooting at me. And I could have lost my life off of the basis of mistaken identity.
So what was that feeling like for you, knowing that you had to run away from these gunmen? You were a young man at the time. What was going through your mind?
It was the most frightening day of my life. It was one of the most surreal moments. I literally saw my life flash before my eyes. It was the moment that I had the most fear in my life, because apart from these shooting gunmen coming at me, I had to run in between traffic, and I remember running towards the lamppost in the middle of the highway, and before I reach the lamppost, I'm hearing bullets bouncing off that light pole. Just running by faith and praying and praying and praying. And to me, when I reflect upon it, and eventually that situation is what brought back peace in Beetham Gardens. It's because persons realize, my mom went, different persons from the community went, I remember Senior Superintendent Alain at the time of the IATF, they got involved and they met with the warring gangs, and they asked them, what if, you all had really take this young man's life? A young man has so much promise and so on. What would have been the situation? So eventually they were able to work, with my mother leading the charge in order to bring back peace in the community. And today 1 to 5 in Beetham Gardens is one united community. But it just goes to show the effect of what gang violence will cause. So when I see young men 14 years and 15 years and young men in our communities being killed throughout East Port of Spain and throughout Trinidad and Tobago, you don't know who you are killing. You don't know if you're killing your next doctor, your next lawyer, your next prime minister, your next person with a cure for cancer or cure for AIDS. You literally don't know. And that, sometimes, when I look back upon it, even as the day that when I was called to the bar, is something that played heavily on my mind. That here you could have been not being able to experience this, not being able to experience your full potential, not being able to make your mother proud, and perhaps people thinking that, it's not possible. But thankfully Jehovah God guided me and He protected me.
So what message would you like to send to maybe a young person? It could be a young man or a young girl who is probably living in a community that has a stigma, and they are unsure of where they can turn to, or if they even have the ability to make a better life for themselves. What message would you like to share with that child living in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, to start with, if you're a young person in Trinidad and Tobago living in these stigmatized communities, you have to recognize and understand the unique position that you are in. You have the ability to forge a new path. You have an ability to lift up young persons coming after you and to set great examples for them. What it means is that you yourself must carry about yourself at a certain standard in terms of where you'd want to see so many young persons and other persons in your community caring about themselves and being ambassadors. You are an ambassador for your community, you are an ambassador for your family, you are an ambassador for every marginalized community in Trinidad and Tobago. So when you go there and you get the opportunities, make the best of it. Go there, work hard with dignity, with honor, with respect.
Kimberly agrees. She is on a mission to offer support to those in need.
I decided to help my community, started helping my community in some way. So about now, I'm the secretary of the executive of the Beetham Gardens Interagency Task Force Police Youth Club. That's the community center down at Phase 2. About now, I tutor kids. I actually help them deal with planning and projects and all these things. So I want young people to know that regardless of where you come from, what school you go to, you could become anything that you want to be. Even if you're learning slow at school, because not all people start off intelligent at school. You have to build up. So about now, I am trying to tutor some Form 5s. They are sitting CXC next year, so I'm praying that they get through. And soon enough, when we launch the homework center, I would love to tutor the lower forms and also, vulnerable kids.
We are working collectively in order to improve that knowledge and know that everybody, no matter what you put in, whether you want to be the best footballer, you want to be a national footballer, you want to be the best volleyballer, you want to be an attorney, you want to be a doctor, you want to be the best mason that you have, take full advantage of the opportunities of Kate, of MUS, of CCC, of YTEP, of MyLAT, of MyPart, so many different government policy. You go there, you get yourself educated, you get yourself equipped for life, and you go there and you try to make the best that have. Meanwhile, on this end, and as for me, I will continue to advocate so that it would be easier. It would be easier for you when you enter that interview room. It would be easier for you when you apply to go to a certain school, because we are collectively trying to make that difference.
Now that you've heard their stories, we hope it encourages you to do something to make your life better. I'm Mahalia Joseph-Wharton, and this has been Beetham Success Stories.